out in my Starfleet uniform, feeling good because, good lord, this was the best episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds so far, and quite possibly the best episode of New Trek so far. And I can say that without having to trash other shows that are out there, which I happen to love too. But good lord, this is it. We are talking the Serene Squall, episode 7 of season 1 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I will not lie, when I saw T'Pring again, I was like, oh lord. It's another one of the romance episodes. It's like this is the most boring romance ever. It's a Vulcan romance. I mean, they don't mean it. They can't help but being a very boring romantic couple. Although they tried to add some humor in there with T'Pring reading some human sexuality books, which I thought was funny. But overall, and she's doing this in order to connect with Spock a little bit. Oh, by the way, I always forget to do this at the beginning. Spoilers! Okay, there will be some spoilers in this, of course. If you've watched my channel before, you know that there are, and you know that I always forget to say it. And also, before we get going, oh my God. Thank you, everybody that's been watching, liking, and subscribing to the channel. You guys rock, and it's so much fun to be with you on at least once a week. Last week I had a little bit of trouble, but here we are tonight talking Star Trek. And make sure that you check out our Deep Space Nine talk that we did last night. That was a good one. Okay, end of the season, so we got to talk a lot. Anyway, am I back? Am I back to the main plot of this little live chat? I believe I am. And I'm here to say yes. This is, after we got past that little Spock to Pring intro, which, was like whatever, we got to the meat of the story. Okay. And the meat of the story is that we got Dr. Aspen on board, who's asking for some humanitarian help because of some folks that are stranded out on the edge of Federation space. And of course, she's going to ask Pike, who just loves to help, to take the Enterprise out there and do his thing. And they do find this cargo ship and they beam on board. And very quickly, things go south because it's a pirate ship. Okay, it's a pirate ship called the Serene Squall. And the crew that beams down gets stuck on that pirate ship. They get ambushed by their leader, whose name is Remy, which I loved. It was an Orion slave dude. Oh, Orion slave dude. Orion slave girl, but an Orion pirate. And I love how New Trek has really fleshed out the Orions. They were just a meme from way back when with, the famous slave girl that Kirk seem to have enjoyed very much. And they fleshed out this race. They're not the best alien race out there, but it's cool to see them pop up in New Trek. And while they get stuck on the ship, the cargo ship, Ortega's and number 1, and even Mbega is there. Like there's a whole, they take like 12 people down there. And while they're stuck down there, the pirates beam onto the Enterprise and take it and its crew hostage. Oh, I apologize. Una gets beamed down after. Yeah, I got a little bit confused because I was like, I'm sure she's in the holding cell. Yes, she is in the holding cell, but that's because they take the bridge and Una and company all get beamed down and get stuck there with Pike. This is what happens. Anyway, y'all watch the episode. Y'all know what happened. Why is this episode so great? And why did I love it so much? It's because for me, it was the first that made me go, wow, I'm boldly going where I haven't been before. So far, Star Trek Strange New Worlds has been a lot of fan service, which I love. It's like good fan service. It's like good fanfic. So I'm not complaining in that sense that it's bad. It's actually really well written. And I had faith. I had faith in the heart that it would eventually find its own voice. Every Star Trek show does eventually. Strange New Worlds has the added benefit of having a season already, if you want to call it that, with Pike and Spock being in Discovery season 2. So those characters already were able to develop, and the charisma between Spock and Pike was already, the groundwork was already there. So it was kind of an easy shoe to slip on to get right into Star Trek Strange New World season 1. And I think that's why it's been a pretty much strong season. They knew what they were going for already from the gate, and they had enough time to develop this and see what worked in Star Trek Discovery season 2 with these characters and just bring it to Strange New Worlds. So definitely it would be difficult for them to fail unless the writers just all hit their heads really hard. And they haven't. They've been producing really good stuff. But it's still, for me, a little bit fan servicey, except for this episode. This episode gave us a very cool action piece, action story with the ship being taken over. Although, where's the crew of the Enterprise? How many people are on this ship? That's the only thing I thought. It's like, wow, it seemed like there were only like 10 or 12 pirates, but I guess if they take the bridge first, it's easy to take over the rest of the ship. But I would think that a ship as big as the Enterprise would have enough resourceful crew to take the ship back. This could be an episode of Lower Decks. I wonder if the Lower Decks people would have fought a little bit harder to take their ship back. Where's Samuel Kirk? Where's Hammer? But all that aside, hey, it's a TV show. We live with it because that story was cool. The ship gets taken over. And over on the cargo ship, Pike is a perfect blend of knowing exactly what he wants to do, but being the laid-back captain that he is. And I complained a little bit about that with last week's episode, which I was not a big fan of, where he's too laid back. But here, his laid-back nature worked in his favor, and I began to really appreciate this and be like, okay, this is a captain I will probably end up falling more in love with as time goes by. I really, really like him. And I hope everybody understands this when I give these sort of criticisms. I'm really enjoying the show. I'm just kind of seeing, well, where can it improve? And having absolute faith that it will improve to that. That's the cool part about Strange New Worlds at the moment. So on that cargo ship, he decides, hey, I'm going to cook for these people because their food sucks. And yeah, it's something that only Pike could do. I think that's what makes this episode click. Because so far, everything that Pike has done, Kirk could have done. And in a few instances, better. Maybe even Picard could have done. I mean, first episode where he's, giving his speech about this is where Earth was and you're on the brink of destroying yourself. That's, Picard could have easily done that. I think Cisco last week would have taken care of business. He would have blown up half the planet or something, or threatened to poison half the planet. If you kill another child, we will relocate you. Either you relocate or you die. I don't know. He would have done something like that. I guess Janeway would have done something similar. But so far, there hasn't been an episode for me that's been like, okay, only Pike could have done this. And this is the one, okay, where only Pike could have done this. Because his laid-back nature, his love for cooking, his love for getting to know people is what's able to fool the Orion into agreeing to sell them to the Klingons. We got a Klingon name drop. I can't wait to see the Klingons in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Don't be afraid, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. We want to see these Klingons. What you got for us? Okay, are they going to be flatheads? Are they going to have ridges? They're going to look a little bit closer to TNG style Klingons. Are they going to be the Discovery Klingons? From season 1. I don't know. Yeah, if they're like the ones in season 2, that'll be kind of cool because I like the season 2 redesigns of the Klingons. So we did get a Klingon name drop because we're all anxious to see these guys. Star Trek Discovery too. We're like, where are the Klingons? We're in the future. What, did they all die out? Where are the Klingons? I love the Klingons. My favorite race, alien race. So yeah, so he fools the captain into doing these things because of his personality, and then we see that, hey, there's a bigger plan here. And the plan is to get everybody to mutiny and to get everybody to go against this captain. Meanwhile, on the ship, and this is where the real meat of the story is, this is the psychological side of the story, which was really well played, which is dealing with Spock's dual nature. And my friend Pete and I, yesterday, we did a review of the last 5 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine from season 2. And one of those episodes is called The Wire. And I really love that episode because it deals with Garak, and Garak is a Cardassian who has been exiled, and he is going through withdrawal from a substance that's in his body that's supposed to keep him from being tortured, and whatever that device is, it's not working anymore, and he's going through it. And basically, what I love about that episode, and what I love about other episodes that have the same theme, is this guy who has a duality in him. One is he's 100% Cardassian. He probably participated in some really bad things during the Bajoran, occupation, but things that he's not proud of, and that you get a sense, hey, he regrets doing. So he's on Deep Space Nine, the space station, and he also loves that, or has a soft spot for that side of him, which is, hey, I'm the tailor here. People respect me somewhat. They treat me okay. There's a few folks that still look at me side-eyed because, yes, I am a Cardassian. So you're kind of stuck between two worlds. It's what I love about the character of Worf, who was raised by humans. So if he goes to Klingon, is he ever going to be really a Klingon? But if he's in Starfleet, he misses that Klingon side of himself. So I love this theme in Star Trek because it's a little bit of my story. I was born in Brazil and I moved to the US very young. So I got one foot in one culture, one foot in another, especially now since I'm back in Brazil. And I've come to realize, yes, I'm Brazilian in a lot of ways, a lot of my mannerisms, but I'm also very American. So what am I? I'm me. And that was the main question here. And Dr. Aspen is so sneaky. Well, we'll find out. She's really sneaky. But she's so sneaky in the way that she starts getting into Spock's head and giving him actually really good advice, because she's a counselor. I was like, shit. I mean, she's doing more counseling work in 10 minutes than Troy did through most of TNG's run. And really getting Spock to consider, who am I? Not what am I? Because he keeps saying, oh, I'm half human, I'm half Vulcan. And, it's not oh, now I forgot the line. It was so cool, where it's like, it's not about biology, but then he's like, well, I'm Vulcan, and the doctor's like, yeah, but that's geography. Like, who you are is beyond geography. It's beyond genetics, I guess. It's something internal that you have to find, and sometimes we are many people. So that's a really cool theme, and it gave us these ideas without being preachy about it, which I really love. It just made us think through Spock thinking. And it relates back to what happened at the beginning with T'Pring, because T'Pring was like, hey, I'm married, or not married, but engaged to a half human, half Vulcan, and I had to accept that he's never going to be a 100% Vulcan. He just isn't. So I'm trying to reach out to him a little bit, in the same way that he attempted to reach out to her in that silly episode where they switched bodies, the Freaky Friday episode, where he's like, hey, I'm willing to go one step further into my Vulcan side if you can go one step further into my human side, and we can somehow meet in the middle. So it made that beginning scene means something, even though I kind of rolled my eyes and was like, oh God, this girl again. Because she is one passive aggressive. She is one passive aggressive Vulcan, man. I know they're supposed to be unemotional, but she shows a little bit of that emotion more more than uh, she's supposed to. Very passive aggressive, in fact. But yes, we get this question: who is Spock really? And it's a question that needs to be brought up because what I dig about Strange New Worlds is that it's coming off the Cage. Okay, the Cage was the pilot, the failed pilot for Star Trek. And I guess what? It happened 5 years before this, where they were in Talos and everything. And Spock smiles in that episode. Spock is somewhat more emotional. So what happens? What bridges that gap from Spock being, the smiling at flowers in that episode to getting to be the way more stoic Spock that we all know and love from TOS? What steps brought him there? Well, Strange New Worlds has this palette that can answer that. So when people say, "Oh, it looks like he's smirking sometimes," it looks like he's showing a bit too much of emotion sometimes, and he says he didn't do his Kolinar yet, so he hasn't purged his emotions yet. So he's still gonna have bits of that. So a regular Vulcan would have that. A 100% pure blooded Vulcan would have those missteps. Imagine somebody that was raised by a human mother and who has a human sister in Michael. And as we find out a little bit later, okay, we won't spoil. I'll leave that to the end. He has other members of his family that are a bit emotional. So it makes sense for Spock to still be flitting between, logic, and think with your heart. And there's a few great scenes here that really hammer that home, like when they get stuck in this force field and he has to make a guess. He has to choose which asteroid to hit. Which asteroid is the one that has the main beam so that they can bust out of this. And it harkens back to a little bit of Star Trek 4, where he has to make an educated guess about the coordinates that go backwards in time. And Kirk is just like, just guess. Take a guess. And Spock is able to do it. So these writers, I don't know. I mean, they seem to be really good at connecting some of these things. I don't know if that was exactly what they were trying to connect, but it reminded me of that scene. And it shows that, hey, he's had to do that before. He's had to just guess before, take an educated guess, take a faith of the heart, a little bit of leap of faith there to get things going. So Ethan Peck, by the way, this is the first episode too where I felt this Spock. Like I didn't feel like it was Ethan Peck playing Spock. Because as much as I love him, although I liked him with that beard, man. I was thinking a little bit getting used to Ethan with no beard. And this is the first episode where I was like, okay, he's starting to get into this role. Somebody mentioned in the group that he speaks a little bit too fast. I tend to agree. And to bring to being logical does not mean that you have to speak really fast to show how intelligent that you say. I can't even do it. I'm not that intelligent. So speaking fast does not show that you're intelligent. It just means that you speak fast. You can still be full of wisdom and logic and speak slower, like regular Spock did, Leonard Nimoy Spock did, Leonard Nimoy Spock did. Was that like a time loop there? Sorry. I thought I pronounced Nimoy. Yeah, Nimoy's name wrong. Anyway, it's been a long week, folks. It's been a long week. So I hope he slows down a little bit with that because it does get annoying. And I think he did a bit in this episode. He's speaking his lines at a better pace. I think our friend from the Kelvin verse, what's his name? Very hot boy. Who is Spock from the Kelvin timeline, guys? Zachary Quinto. Can't believe I forgot his name. Anyway, can't wait to see him back on the big screen. I think he did a better job at really getting the Spock mannerisms down. But then again, he's the Spock that maybe is a little bit older already and has gone through all of that. So it's understandable that this is a younger Spock still trying to figure himself out. Now, let's get to this Dr. Angel. And, well, no, actually, before we get to her, Nurse Chapel, my least favorite character on. No, Mbenga is probably my. Not, I shouldn't say least favorite, just like inconsequential. I noticed he was in the holding cell. I was like, oh, he's there. Okay, he had a line. But he's pretty inconsequential. What's up with everybody that says they can't understand him? Is it really that difficult to understand somebody with a different accent? He does have a different way of speaking. He speaks kind of low. I don't know. I mean, I watch with the subtitles only because TV these days, the last 10, 12 years or so, it's become the whisper game. And nobody really talks in a loud voice because everything is so urgent and important. And we have to talk. No, it's so annoying. But that is something that's just a trend. It's a trend. It's read a good article about that, and it has a little bit to do with better microphones, and also has to do with the fact that a lot of actors aren't coming from the theater, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, all the way up to the 90s or so. Most actors had a theater background. Kate Mulgrew, if we're talking Star Trek, theater background. Avery, I'm pretty sure, yes. How can Avery not have a theater background with the way that he enunciates every word? I don't know. And of course, Picard, Shakespearean actor. Of course, Kirk, another Shakespearean actor and good actor. Okay, he's a very good actor. Oh, I can't stand the Kirk hate. He's so good, Shatner. And he's gone on record as saying that the reason that he would pause sometimes is because he's really bad at memorizing lines. In the TV schedule, you got to get those shows out. Got to pump them out fast. So he would have to pause sometimes to think about the next line. But even still, it's classic delivery. I mean, would you want that delivered any other way? And he doesn't always do it. So pay attention when you're watching TOS. He doesn't always do that. But there are episodes where it is strong, especially as we get later on the series, because they were like boom, boom, on a heavy schedule. Uh-oh, my battery is dying. That's a problem. Let me plug this in. Anyway, folks, thank you for tuning in, by the way. I do enjoy spending time with you. These live casts are kind of just ramblings, but I hope that they're enjoyable ramblings. And by the way, speaking of rambling, let me give a shout out to Alexa Chipman Reactions. Check out her channel. She rocks. And she does a little bit of this, like, she doesn't ramble. I don't want to say she rambles, but it's kind of like, these are just my thoughts. And she maybe like last week's episode a little bit more. I liked her commentary better than the episode. So check her out. She's always commenting on this page. She's so awesome. And I really enjoyed her channel. I saw that she commented. I didn't know that she did reviews and stuff like that either. And then, or two. And then I went over there. I was like, oh, cool. She's so awesome. So shout out to you, girl. What's up? So, yes, Ethan Peck, this is his shining moment. This is the first time that I didn't think of Nimoy. I didn't think of Zachary Quinto. I didn't think, doing a version of Spock. I just thought, this is Spock. And similar to with Pike, I was like, okay, this is only a situation Pike could have gotten. In that fashion, of course. I think the other captains would have figured a way out. But in that fashion, in that way, using his cooking and everything, he was the dude. But I was speaking about Nurse Chapel, right? Let's get back. Nurse Chapel. Yeah. Aside from Mbenga, Nurse Chapel is probably my other inconsequential character. I'm really not into her. I know she's got a fan base. I guess it's similar to the Tilly fan base. People really like Tilly because she was just a regular person. She was kind of ditzy in her own way, but super smart, And I mean, I could do Tilly. I could deal with Tilly a little bit more. Although in the season 2 of Discovery, I did a whole bunch of videos about that. I did complain that they tried to make her too ditzy, and I'm glad that in season 3 onward, they still made her bubbly, but less bubbly. Like, you're in Starfleet, girl. Like, you got to get your shit together. Um, and Nurse Chapel is not as bubbly, it's not as ditzy, but she just hasn't done it for me so far. But it's cool that she's got a little fan base there. Good for her. And she actually does some cool stuff this episode. So yes, yet another character that was like coming into their own. She does not get captured, just like Spock and Dr. Ansel, what the hell is her name? I have my notes down here, guys. Aspen, Dr. Aspen. Ansel Adams probably took pictures of Aspen, but this is Dr. Aspen. And they try to get the ship back. And they head down to engineering, and that's where we get the twist. And it was a good twist. Caught me by surprise. It was definitely not like last week where we're like, oh, God. I mean, we can all tell, we the audience, that something is not right. What's wrong with the crew of the Enterprise where they can't tell that, hey, these people are definitely hiding something nefarious. But this woman, she just had it. She was able to make us believe that she was 100% trying to get the ship all the way out there to help. Okay. And the actress's name, by the way, is, it's always good to give these actors a shout out because she was really good. For the first half, by the way, we'll get to the second half. Jesse James Keitel, Dr. Aspen. And we find out when they're down in engineering, has a dual personality. Why? Well, she doesn't have a dual personality. I don't think that's a good way to describe it. She was faking it. Her real personality is that she's Angel. She's the pirate captain. And what she really wants is the Enterprise. She doesn't want to kill anybody. She wants the Enterprise. And why does she want the Enterprise? Because her Vulcan lover, and she's mentioned that, she mentions this to Spock that she used to have a Vulcan lover, is stuck on a penal colony over there. Okay? And it just happens that this penal colony is what T'Pring calls a rehabilitation center for Vulcans that have fallen, off the wagon, off the logic wagon. And she wants her lover back. She's willing to make a trade with T'Pring. I'll give you Spock. You give me my old lover, and we're good. And then I'm going to head off into wherever the hell I got to go. Okay? Well, everything seems to be working out perfectly, except that Spock concocts a plan. He decides to tell T'Pring that, look, I've been cheating on you with Nurse Chapel, and they get to prove this, they do a little steamy kiss, which Nurse Chapel really felt, and I don't blame her. And T'Pring's like, okay, I guess we got to break our engagement bonds. It's that simple. She puts her little fingers up, does a little hand magic, and boom, we ain't together anymore. Sorry, I don't want your man. I mean, I don't want Spock anymore. I mean, it's not a trade that interests me. Goodbye. Boom. Simple. And just in the nick of time, because Angel here is pissed, Pike shows up with the freighter and disables the Enterprise, and we get they get control back of the ship. They get control back of the ship, except that Angel has a little transporter thing on her neck. Her necklace apparently is a mobile transporter, and she gets out. Now, Angel. I liked her better as Dr. Aspen. and she hammed it up a little bit, as Angel. That was like offsetting a little bit because the episode was so serious up to that point. Even with Pike screwing around with the pirates and anything pirate is gonna it's gonna be a little bit silly, but um the show had some gravitas and it was dealing with some serious issues, which are issues of identity and things like that. And then she just hammed it up, and I was like, where's this coming from? And it's always so funny when you have Star Trek episodes, especially where the officers have to pretend to be somebody else. So I guess they get trained as actors too in Starfleet, because they all do a really good job at blending in and uh, acting as if they're from a certain period or acting any sort of way. It's always funny when I see this. And yeah, she gave an Oscar-winning performance, because if that's who she really is, Angel and all campy and stuff. Yeah, it didn't do it for me. I liked her as a villain up to that point. It's funny how, I don't know, when they write female villains, sometimes they tend to go overboard. Speaking of Orions, the Orion bad guy from season 3 of Star Trek Discovery almost went there. I thought she was a little bit better written, where she was, she could get hammy, but she didn't. She kept it evil, to the right measure. So thank you, Star Trek Discovery, for doing that. So anyway, folks, we're almost coming to the end here. And all these elements come together to give me an episode of Star Trek that really made me think. It developed the characters that I already love, like Spock, and the ones that I'm getting to know, like Pike. The rest of the crew didn't do much this episode. They were all just looking for Pike, looking to Pike for help, and it's good. I mean, he was the captain. He showed that I am going to take care of my crew. We'll figure this out. Kind of weird just that a lot of the crew wasn't there. I would think that they would somehow figure out how to take the Enterprise back, but okay, whatever. It's a TV show. But it was just spectacular. This is it. This is an episode I could watch again, because it gave me something that interested me, that made me think about these characters, past, present, and future. And it's where Star Trek Strange New Worlds needs to go in order to break out of that. I mean, it's a success. I mean, I guess it could just stay on cruise control and it would be doing pretty well, because people really seem to love this show. And I think it's got the highest Rotten Tomato rating, so yes, if it goes on cruise control for the rest of its whatever 5-6 year run, however long they're going to keep it on the air, good. I'll still tune in. I don't know if I'll be doing these little live casts every week, because at some point I'll just get bored with it. Maybe I'll just save it, like with Picard season 2. I'll just save a long ass rant for the end of the season. But if it keeps doing episodes like this, and if it takes some chances with the characters, if it really starts to keen in on what makes these characters tick, and what is it about their personalities that can make the story or the adventure move forward in a way that doesn't feel like, hey, I've seen this before, or anybody else could have done that. I could just replaced one character with another and the outcome would have been the same, then yeah, it's going to get a little old for me, a little stale for me. In speaking of Deep Space Nine, we were talking about that yesterday too with Cisco, because Avery Brooks is out there. He's an out there guy in the best way possible. And the issues I have with season 1, as good as it is, it's solid, for the most part, for being a 25 or 26 season episode season. There's a lot of decent watchable episodes, but it doesn't get to the next level until it takes some chances. And a lot of those episodes feel like, oh, this is just a TNG plot with DS9 characters. And Could I replace Cisco with somebody else and we would have gotten the same outcome? Yeah, possibly. I mean, maybe he would have spoken a little different or made one different decision here or there. I don't know if he would have punched Q. But once the show finds its voice, then you're like, oh, I can't imagine anybody else but Cisco doing this. Picard would have never done this. Janeway would have never done this. Kirk would have never done this, right? So Strange New Worlds is not there yet. It's getting there. And I have faith that it will get there because we do seem to have a pretty good writing team. They seem to be really they know what they're doing. It seems like they know what they're doing and they know where they want to take this show. And it's exciting. It's exciting to have a Star Trek show that's blooming. Much in the way Discovery took, a little while to bloom. For me, Discovery only got interesting, episode 5 or 6. After that, the Mud episode, Harry Mudd episode. And I hope Harry Mudd shows up here. And then it was like, okay, it's discovering its own voice. In its own voices, it's insane. And I happen to love the insanity, which is Star Trek Discovery. So I figured it would happen with this series in the same way, and it happened around the same time, episode 6 or 7. So there's that. But when we think it's all over, Spock's like, hey, she gave this other name to this supposed lover of hers. Well, not that supposed. They were really lovers. But I think I know who she's talking about. We can't let this guy go. And that's what she tells Chapel. He tells Chapel, like, I'm going to come up with a ruse here. I'm going to do something and make sure that this guy doesn't get out. And then, ba-bam, little tag at the end of the episode. It's Cyborg. And man, I was like, I'm there for it. I know Star Trek 5 is not the best Star Trek movie. It's got some really great parts in it. It has probably the greatest Kirk quote in it. What does God need with a spaceship? It's got one of the best McCoy scenes ever where he's, Cyborg's trying to get McCoy to share his pain. He's like, I don't need to share my pain with you. I'm good, right? It's got a lot of nice little bits. I even like the camping stuff. I know some folks don't like the camping stuff where they're singing "Row, row, row your boat." It's just uneven. It's an uneven. It's unfortunately it also has Uhura singing in the sand. It has Scotty hitting his head, on a piece of the Enterprise because he's the greatest engineer ever, and he doesn't know that there's like a bar over there that's a little bit low. Yeah. Anyway, so not the greatest Star Trek movie, except that I really like Cyborg. I really do. I've been a champion of Cyborg ever since the very first time I saw Star Trek 5 when I was a kid. I like this idea of the smiling Vulcan, the Vulcan that has rejected logic. It was a novel idea back when this movie came out. And it's one that I think really needs to be explored. I know they had the logic extremists in Star Trek Discovery season 1, but that was like, whatever with that. Like, that's forgotten and never be brought up again because why? It was pretty unnecessary. But here, we have a chance to actually dig into Cyborg's mind a little bit. Now, what do we do with that? I don't know, because you definitely have room to allow Cyborg to communicate even with Spock, to do stuff, to have some agency. But he can't completely reveal himself because, hey, Kirk is like, I know Spock doesn't have a brother. I know this for a fact. And Spock's like, well, yeah, but he's really my half-brother. And he tried to keep this a family secret, a secret that his father, Sarek, had an extramarital affair. So how much can you flesh this character out without starting to mess with canon? But I hope they do, because I just love this guy. And I think if he had been given a better script, if Star Trek 5 had been a better written movie, he would have been remembered as one of the great bad guys of Star Trek, up there with Khan and with the Borg Queen. So much love to Cybok. And I was very happy to see him. And it seems like people in the group were like happy to see him too, and happy to know that, hey, we're going to give this character that I believe has a cult following, no pun intended, in the fandom, a little bit of love. He got shortchanged. He was kind of an interesting idea that unfortunately got stuck in a not that interesting of a movie with some interesting ideas too. With this idea of going to, what is it, Shakara? Going to see God, and um, what is the going beyond the Great Barrier of the galaxy and finding out what's really out there. Interesting concepts in that movie. It's just the execution. It's uneven, to say the least. Still watchable though. Still totally watchable movie. So give me more Cyborg. Flesh him out. Make him do. He's got to have at least one episode where he does something that makes you go, wow, yes, this guy is. He's well intentioned, but he's a piece of shit. You know. So I can't wait for that, guys. As you can tell, I'm starting to get tired. But I really wanted to get this out because this is really, really, really a special episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which will be remembered and will, I think, could be a watershed moment to show the writers, look, this is what we can do moving forward to make this show click on its own level without it having to be like the callback to Star Trek's of old show. Boldly going where we have been before. All right, this ran a little bit long, but I had a lot to say. Thank you, everybody who watches, supports the channel. Share this with your friends, and live long and prosper.